I'm joined by Chris Vincent, who is currently 4-0 in this afternoon's British Magic Time Community Cup, and he's playing Naya Midrange, Super Friends.
Yeah, mono Naya bombs.
It's basically the mythic deck. Everything except the basic lands is a rare mythic, I think. Although maybe a couple of But anyway, do you want to talk through the general idea of the deck and then sort of the key cornerstones of the deck?
Okay, so as you kind of previewed in introducing the deck, the main cornerstone around the deck is the Planeswalkers. They're super important. So we've got Gideon, we've got Nahiri, and we've got Nissa that doesn't start as a Planeswalker, but she eventually joins the team when you manage to get seven lands. Gideon, just an all-round superstar in the current meta game. He makes an army, he applies pressure with his animate mode, or he can anthem if you need to. Nahiri provides a steady stream of cards, so if you're needing like more lands or more creatures, more bombs to add to your board, can play a role there. Also, the minus ability can kill. I've killed like a reality smasher with it. Was quite important. Azula.
Does it come up very often with advanced ability, or is it sort of just to snag things like always watching?
I play it mostly for the first ability in the ultimate. The minus one is really useful and it does come up every now and then. So saying minus to Reality Smasher, minus to against a Jace, and I've killed like 3 Cryptolith Rights with it. So yeah, that's it's been fairly handy in that respect. And obviously you work towards the ultimate to bring this bad boy out, Dragon Lord Attacker.
Yeah, he's got a lovely enter battlefield trigger, blows up another board, hits him for 8, and usually in this deck you can cast it the following turn, I think.
Yeah. So you really maximise the use you can get out of this card because you're destroying, almost all creatures or planeswalkers, and because you're sort of developing a board with the other planeswalkers and some of the creatures, which we'll get to in a bit, you can clear the way for your creatures to attack. You can kill planeswalkers that your creatures can't quite get through, and then sort of attack your opponent, and then they're kind of forced to block if they're... So all-round pressure, this guy's really the reason we're splashing red over just straight green-white.
Just to stay on the Planeswalkers for a minute, we're playing sort of the Gideons, a couple of Chandras and the Heroes, and then the Flippers, but we're not playing, say, Arlen Cord or the Nissa Voice of the card in the sort of Naya colours.
No, we're not.
Is there any reason for just say not Arlen Cord?
So the main reason behind not Nissa and Arlencord especially is we wanted all our early game threats to be things that really impact late game as well. So cards like Sylvan Advocate and Tireless Tracker, which provide an incremental advantage throughout the game, we felt they were better suited to this deck. I actually worked on this deck with a team. You were on the team for GP. Yeah, no worries. We worked on it with GP Manchester. I believe we played Deathcap Cultivator to try and ramp into the Planeswalkers. No, it didn't. The best case scenario didn't come up as often as we thought. But anyway, having said that, and we decided that we wanted all our threats to impact, all our early game threats to really push us into that late game and be relevant in the late game. So Arlen Cord and Nissa, whilst they're quite powerful cards, they're a bit less flexible, and if you draw them late as well, they don't have the same impact.
4 mana make a wolf isn't great, 3 mana make a 0 isn't you can answer
Yeah.
It's sort of a win mode with this style of deck where everything is pulling its own weight.
Yeah.
Gets big or talent tracker, which gets you the incremental power for that yourself. There's not a lot of synergy, it's just raw power.
So Tireless Tracker, we've featured this card alongside the Planeswalkers because I believe this really is a Tireless Tracker deck. Whether it's getting using land drops to get more land drops or to get more fuel to the fire, and also presenting a threat that can actually punch through some Planeswalkers if you manage to sort of wipe away chump blockers with Attacker or Radiant Flames. So yeah.
How's the removal in the deck?
So I switched out the Deathcap Cultivators for Radiant Flames, and Radiant Flames has been really good. I've played against 2 Rights decks, and that's obviously been a really big role player in that. I also played on camera round 2 against a red-green tokens deck.
Yeah, I saw the Radiant Flames pull something away.
And yeah, without that card and without the Tireless Tracker sort of synergy with sort of making your Tireless Tracker big enough to survive Radiant Flames all their blockers and kill their Planeswalker, that's just so game changing, so that's been good. We're also playing Force Stasis Snare as like our premier removal spell, and that is pretty much the removal spell that answers everything with the weakness of obviously being an enchantment. But I did up the Oath of Nissa count to 3. So cards like Dramoka's Command, you've got a potential buffer in Oath of Nissa, and Stasis Snare kills Reality Smasher, it kills Dragonlord Silgar with the trigger on the stack. So all round utility.
That makes sense to what the Oaths as well, with in this sort of wider meta game today. Dramoka's Command is a very widely played card, so having additional enchantments to protect your enchantments. What would you say your sort of horrible matchups are?
Yeah. So I really don't like playing against any deck that has multiple copies of Nantuka Husk and Zulapot Cutthroat, because I can't leverage my smash power with Tyler's Tracker Sylvan Advocate, or board wiping with Chandra and Dragonlord Ataka when they're going to drain you with triggers. It's not the most pleasing prospect, and apart from the 4 Stasis Snares, I don't actually have a good way to get rid of Nantuka Husk. It'll probably be bigger than any of my creatures, so defensively my deck's not well positioned against that. I also think any deck that ramps to Ulamog is potentially not great. I can... That's actually, yeah, that's a lot worse, because they can counter my bombs and then play Ulamog and get rid of any leftover bombs. So that's a bit, those two I sort of...
Any particular cards in the sideboard do you think deserve mention? I think there's a season's pass and I was left to see the sideboard of this stuff.
Yeah, well, it's... So the control decks will try and go over the top of you. It's actually quite hard for them to do that, but they do have enough stuff to try and do that. Powerful cards like Dragonlord Silumgar, and they can use Dark Petition. A lot of them are often black based to get what they need. So Seasons Pass was kind of like a concession to that. I remember playing at the Grand Prix. I played against a Seasons Pass control deck, and this Seasons Pass out of the sideboard was just amazing, because I was able to rebuy all my bombs that my opponent had blown up, and just keep applying pressure to eventually to make sure I didn't lose, basically. Other cards, so we've got an extra Gideon, and we've got Surik the Hunt Caller and Malevolent Whispers to shore up the ramp matchup a bit and apply more pressure. Obviously, you can't always beat an Ulamog, but if you've got them to low enough health and you steal it with Malevolent Whispers, that can be the end for them. So yeah.
So sort of general playstyle of the deck is very much just you're going to play really high quality cards on curve out, and eventually your opponent is not going to keep up, and you're just going to bury them into either card advantage, but card advantage, or just doing.
Yeah, kind of on curve, but also you can sort of manipulate the curve a bit. As long as you actually have the lands. For example, I generally don't play the Tireless Tracker on turn 3. I usually play it on turn 4 so that I get an immediate advantage. And similarly, depending on how many clues you have, you can make an assessment as to how important cracking the clues are, and playing sort of a slightly cheaper spell this turn and cracking a clue, and vice versa. So really, it's like mana optimization as well as curve.
To wrap us up then, I've got how's much against green, white, and ban. They're the two biggest decks. If you're going to think about playing a deck, you've got to think, am I going to beat them or not? If you're not, you can't play it.
So I had the pleasure of playing green-white tokens 6 times at the Grand Prix, so you'd have thought I'd sussed the matchup by now, but honestly I walked away from it feeling like, well, the green-white decks that curved out pretty much perfectly, they destroyed me.
They do the 1 to 4 draw.
Yeah, that was I got crushed a couple of times by some very good draws. But if they don't do that, you've actually got quite a bit of game, because you've got the Radiant Flames to clear all their defense when they go into defense mode with the Planeswalkers to work towards that Nissa ultimate. You've got Dragonlord Ataka, which can eventually trump Planeswalkers and a bunch of tokens, and you have answers to Ormondal like Stasis Snare, and also it answers Ormondal and also potential Avacyn and Hangerback Walker. So the tools are there. I feel that it's very much going to come down to what happens in the game against green-white tokens. Against Bant, I find that matchup... The problem with the Bant matchup from your side is when they hold up mana, they could be representing so many different things. And Avacyn, all that.
The additional Radiant Flames you're now playing with, but at the same time, I think a lot of the actual physical games that play out down to how much mana they do. If it's up 2-3 draws,
I think against the aggressive humans deck, it's a bit more straightforward in that they're gonna run you over if you don't blow up all their stuff, and they have a few less tricks when they hold mana up. The more traditional builds, I find that often I'm making slightly suboptimal, or what look like on paper suboptimal decisions to play around some of the tricks, and when that works out quite well because I've managed to read them well, then it's all right. But if I don't manage to successfully play around tricks, if they have like all of them, then I'm gonna lose.
Definitely seems good. So, Vincent Naya, super friends, mid-range, whatever you want to call it. All the mythics in my binder, but they're all pretty good. It's a very fun deck. It's got some great curves. It's only 4 hours. So
Yeah.
I'd like to think you're going to be shaking hands basically right now. See what's happening.
Let's hope.
But no, it's a good deck. You can play it and give it a try. Thanks very much.
Take care, Matt.